Okay, folks, so people keep asking me for recommendations as far as cheap swords are concerned, and I can understand that. I mean, money is tight and all that. You want to basically spend as little as possible and get something that is acceptably decent, so to speak. At the same time, my usual standpoint is that the higher end production swords are far superior to something like a $200 sword for the most part, and I think it's generally worth it to save up for them, especially if you end up buying 3 or 4 cheaper ones. You're going to be at the same price anyway. But let's not get too deep into my opinion here. I'm just going to give you a couple of recommendations that I find acceptable in the range of anything up to $150 for now. And in later videos, I'm going to show you my recommendations for higher price classes. So first of all, up $150 and less is really not a lot of money. I mean, you cannot expect outstanding quality by any means at that price. It's just not gonna work. Most of them are just really, mediocre quality, poor fit and finish and all of that. But I'm just going to give you some that I think are reasonable for the price. And I'm here on Cult of Athena. If you're outside of the US, no problem. Cult of Athena ships worldwide. I mean, I'm in Canada and I have received quite a few swords from them, so it's not a problem at all. If you're in Europe, that works fine too. You just have to check your local laws because some countries can be a little bit anal about importing anything weapon related. Okay, so first of all, the pretty much most bang for the buck I've ever encountered is this here. The Qama or Qama, I'm not quite sure how you would pronounce that, made by Windlass, and this thing is amazingly cheap, and at the same time it seems to be pretty good for the price. I have seen reviews of this one on the Sword Buyer's Guide forum, and it seems really decent, especially for the price. I mean, $40 for a sword is just ridiculous. That's an insanely low price, and at that price you really can't go wrong if it's halfway functional, and it is functional. I mean, first of all, the handle construction is structurally sound. You can see here there are handle scales which are directly riveted onto it, and there's no issue with that. Weight-wise, balance, material, and all of that seems fine, so it's really not a problem. Keep in mind, Windlass generally delivers swords with dull edge, so not sharp, so you would have to add Cult of Athena's sharpening service if you want it sharp. Okay, let's move on. What else is there? This one here, I've also seen a review of this on the Sword Buyer's Guide forum, and it seems pretty decent. First of all, as far as a sword of this length is concerned, this is almost more like a long dagger, if you will, a very short sword. There's less that can go wrong with this. A longer sword, is more dependent on good quality material. You won't have as much leverage acting on the blade, so it's less likely to bend or break. And weight-wise, this is quite light, which it's supposed to at that length. Point of balance is just fine, no problem. It should be, really nice and agile in the hand. The pommel is threaded, which can be an issue. It doesn't, judging by that one review that I've seen, it doesn't really seem to be a problem. Again, the short length helps with that, so this would definitely be worth considering. And finally, there is also a gladius made by Windlass right here. This is, this is stretching the sub $150 category because it's, 5 cents lower, and plus sharpening service, it's technically over. But this may still be worth considering. It doesn't look anywhere near as good as a pricier gladius, and all of the usual concerns, but it looks pretty good for the price. Again, it's threaded. Not ideal, but it should be fine, especially again at the length. That's less of a problem. Then there's also the Spanish falcata. I have also seen positive reviews of this one. The brass handle doesn't really seem to be historically accurate. They seem to have used wood or bone handle scales, but that may not be that important for you. Seems okay overall, so this might be worth considering. And also it is peened, as you can see here, so should be fine. Again, I haven't tried that one or the others that I suggested so far, but you know, based on the research I did and looking at the measurements and everything, they seem okay. In the dark age category, there isn't really anything under 150 that I would suggest checking out. You see a lot of Topeka here. This here is, well, it's only slightly higher. It's, judging by the review I've seen of it, it seems pretty good, but again, it's technically over the 150 mark. Let's see here, medieval category. There may be something, let me see here. Yeah, this here, Windlass, classic medieval sword, and the Hungarian saber. Those are the only two in this price range that may be worth checking out. The handle of this one, generally whenever I see this kind of leather wrap and these super simplistic brass fittings, it's usually a sign of, you know, pretty cheap production. Of course, you see that in the price, but at least the handle looks reasonable in terms of shape. It is definitely oval, so it shouldn't feel too bad in the hand. And overall shape, yeah, seems okay. It's like a very, very simplified and somewhat plain-looking version of a Hungarian saber. So it's not really all that appealing, but for the price, it may be okay. And again, it is peen, so might be worth considering. Weight and point of balance seem all right, so I don't see any glaring issues there. This one here, classic medieval sword, so this is supposed to be an arming sword. Looks slightly off, but not too bad. Again, this same kind of cheap leather wrap there, but it is peened, as you can see. Measurements seem fine, and maybe worth considering. Generally, Windlass swords are forged, hand-forged, and they're all made of carbon steel, so you don't really have to worry about the steel breaking or anything. They sometimes have problems with an overly flexible blade on their longer blades, which this one is not, so that shouldn't really be a problem. So this might be worth considering. And then we have the Renaissance category. Let's see what we have here. This is something I would always recommend, by the way. Click on Show Battle Ready only, so you get rid of all the wall hanger junk. Unless you want something that is decorative only, but then you can basically grab something that costs 50 or 60 or whatever. That's not an issue in that case. And then sorting by price is also useful. In this case, you can see there's not really much that fits in this price range. This one, I have unfortunately no idea about this manufacturer. I've never heard of them. I haven't seen any reviews of their stuff. Judging by how it looks, well, you can see this is really rough work. I mean, very rough edges. The handle basically looks unfinished. It also looks very uncomfortable. If you look at how steep that angle is, that would definitely require additional beveling. It might be a reasonable project sword, because in terms of structural integrity, it should be fine, since, well, you can see it's riveted right there, so it's not going to come apart. You can also see that the, well, finish, that's usually where they have to save. They can't really put a lot of time and effort into making it look nice at that price. If you want to finish it yourself, then yeah, that may be a thing. You might want to look into that in that case. Again, seems fine here in terms of measurements. And just a quick commentary on the measurements, since I keep talking about that. The main reason why I look at that is quite often the cheaper ones are not shaped properly. They are kind of overbuilt because they're using cheaper materials. So they're trying to compensate for the more low quality material by making everything thicker. A very thick overbuilt blade that is not as likely to shatter. There's one really good example of that. Let me see where that was. It was a two-handed greatsword. There we go. Ritter steel is generally, yeah, a very good example of this. I mean, look at that. 14 pounds, almost 15 pounds. This is freaking insane. I mean, come on. historical two-handed greatswords usually weigh no more than 7. This is twice as heavy as it's supposed to be. And I can guarantee you this thing would feel absolutely terrible in the hand. It would give you a completely wrong impression of historical swords. I mean, this is way too thick. It is massively overbuilt. It is just crude. So that's why I'm looking at that. And when I see this, I know immediately, no, this is crap. And even though it's pretty expensive for that. So you can't always go by, well, this is expensive, so it has to be good. There are unfortunately some exceptions. Early modern, do we have anything here that would fit? They tend to be pretty cheap. Yeah, the kindjal here, that should again be a very good choice for the super cheap category that is still functional. Again, it has these super huge knobs at the end of the rivets or screws, or however it's assembled. And yeah, again, very simple, very, kind of plain looking at everything, but it should be functional. So if that's all you have and you want a sword with which you can do test cutting and everything, yeah, this would be worth looking into. There are also some sabers here. In this case, I'm having a hard time giving you any recommendations because modern military sabers tend to be very often cheaply imitated. Something like this. I remember having seen a review of this one, which basically came out as, well, very cheap. It actually has a plastic handle there with leather wrapping around, and it's not gonna be anywhere near as sturdy as a more expensive saber or sword. So yeah, you have to reckon with the fact that you're gonna get what you pay for. At the same time, it's probably not going to fall apart on you. So yeah, might be worth considering. Generally, as I've said before, Windlass can be kind of hit or miss. So it's always a bit of a risk. This one here would also be most likely be pretty decent, and it looks okay for the price. I mean, I can't really complain much. It doesn't look all that plain. They seem to have put some work into it. I can't tell you exactly how historically accurate this one is because I don't really know much about the shasqua, but yeah, might be worth considering. Just judging by how it looks and the measurements and everything, it seems okay. Then the category of modern and tactical. There's a lot of stuff here and a lot of good stuff. I own this one here. The Cobra Steel kindjal. As you can see, it's also made by Windlass. Cobra Steel is a particular product line that Windlass offers. And I have to say, this one is really pretty freaking amazing for the price. I mean, it feels great in the hand. It's very fast and agile. Rubber handle, yeah, if you like that or not, that's personal preference. It does work. So it's not really a problem. Seems structurally sound and everything. It's a very nice blade. Same here with the others. They're very much in the same style and definitely very decent. So I can certainly recommend the Cobra Steel line in general. Those are definitely good. They have different handles here. You can see that this here is more of a hard plastic, whereas the others have rubber handles. So yeah, certainly worth considering. The Condor dadao, I have actually reviewed that on my channel. Link will be in the video description. And if you've seen that, you already know that this is a tank of a chopper. So definitely doesn't exactly have the handling of an agile dueling sword by any means. But it's pretty good. It's definitely well made and everything. Condor generally can be highly recommended. No problem. We also have the bush cutlass, if you can find that. Not sure if Athena stocks that. And the fantasy category has, of course, going to be a lot of strange stuff, but there are a few that are actually fairly decent. I have seen a review of this one here, and I've also seen someone customize it a little bit. The Spartan sword from the 300 movie, which is a little odd, but it seems reasonably well made. Again, it's not one of the nicest ones in terms of shape and fit and finish and everything, but it is okay, and it is peened, as you can see. So if you like that style, then this would definitely work. Otherwise, there is not really much. There is a cheaper version of this, but it's a no-name maker, so I really can't make any statements about that. I'm not gonna recommend it because I haven't seen reviews, and it's suspiciously cheap and has a threaded pommel, and it's also too heavy. So yeah, this one I definitely would not recommend. Then in this category, there's currently one that is exactly 150, well, technically 5 cents less. This one is made by Traditional Filipino Weapons, and that's definitely quality stuff. As you can see, normally it goes for 230, and right now it's 149.95. The reason for that is it has quite some significant pitting here at the tip, which it's rather ugly, and this would be really difficult to fix. The pitting looks deep enough that you would have to grind it enough to probably affect the blade negatively. So personally, I would leave it as it is probably. So that's a bit of an issue, but yeah, technically it is just 5 cents under. In the Chinese category, a bit difficult because the lower priced ones are just no name manufacturers, so I really cannot make any statements about that. Measurements, yeah, seems okay. As far as looks are concerned, well, again, very, basic wood grip. Wait, do I see? There's some glue residue there. It also says here the pommel is threaded and glued. That's generally a bad sign if they don't even trust their threaded pommel enough to put it on there without glue. That's not really good. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend this one, and it's also probably going to be difficult to find reviews of it. This here I have seen, and it's definitely good. The Hanwei Warlord Dadao. It's pretty similar to the Pudao that Kara has, and judging by that, I know that it's well made. It may very well be a bit overly flexible, just like the Pudao is. So that's a bit of an issue, but it's not really a big deal. So this here I could definitely recommend. That's quite a nice one. And finally, if you're looking for Japanese swords, you are in luck because, well, they are so popular that everybody makes them, and their grandma and their dog. So there are tons of manufacturers who offer them, and you can find cheap ones that are still functional. Like Musashi is a pretty well-known cheap manufacturer of functional katanas. They're not going to be comparable to the higher priced ones by any means, but they're not too bad from what I've seen. I mean, I've seen a couple of reviews, and yeah, you generally have to deal with, fake ground hamon, and generally not the nicest materials, everything to cut corners basically, but at least they can be used for at least light cutting, so they're not going to fall apart. This here is the one that you've seen in the pumpkin cutting video that I got recently. It's really, super cheap, and well, I've already damaged the edge, so it's not the highest quality by any means, but, for the price, it's pretty okay, and it handles properly. And the Masahiro, again, I've seen definitely positive reviews of, so yeah, worth looking into. Like I said, if you're looking for katanas, as long as you make sure that they're battle ready, and as long as it's mono steel, I would shudder to think what a differentially hardened $100 katana would be like. That would probably bend immediately, but mono steel is just tougher. It doesn't have the soft spine, so less of a problem. Okay, that's it as far as the sub $150 category is concerned. on Cult of Athena at least. There may be others on other websites, but this here would definitely be the one that I suggest checking out. They have pretty low prices. They have, reasonable shipping as far as it's humanly possible, and they always ship very fast. I've never had a problem with them. Excellent service. So there you go. The next video I'm going to make in this style will probably be the $150 to $250 category, or maybe up to $300. We'll see. So I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.